Amazon. I'm Jasmine Moyer, and welcome to Sway TV.
Welcome, Anne, to Amazon Live and virtually into our Sway TV studio.
And we're doing Workout Wednesdays here on Amazon Live.
And she is fresh off the set of Shark Tank.
It's such an honor to be here today, so thank you.
We're gonna have some fun on the stream.
We are going to be talking all about parenting.
And it's Brad Grunberg. Hi, Brad. This is a game changer.
There's a Tesla. You can actually buy a car on Amazon.
The perfect gift.
You guys, get on this now.
Such an amazing Amazon deal.
Yes, we got our Drake's Cake break. So awesome. That was very dramatic.
Thank you. Thank you at Sway TV. Thank you. Oh, Naveen says thank you. This is my first time I'm seeing Amazon Live. This is better than Netflix. Yes! So happy New Year 2021. Let's bring it in with a bang. 2, 1. So grateful for you guys and for Sway TV. We'll see you soon. Until then, let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway!
Let's sway!
Let's sway.
Let's sway. Let's sway.
Good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from. It is a beautiful day here in Los Angeles. I hope it is a beautiful day wherever you are joining me from. I'm Lisa Gold. You are joining us in our virtual studio out of Bel Air, California, and we are talking today all about self-care on the art of parenting. It is Monday, January 18th. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We have to take a moment to honor Martin Luther King and all of the incredible people that fought alongside him, starting back during the Civil Rights Movement, the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement, all the way through today. It's been an incredible year for the Black Lives Matter movement. And I would like to take a moment just to recognize that and to remember that Martin Luther King spread a message of collaboration and kindness and really working to be productive together, regardless of race, religion, socioeconomic status. So if you are joining us from home today, and if you are not having to work, and if your kids are home because they don't have Zoom school or regular school or hybrid school, whatever kind of school they've got, we have something really special that I want to tell you about. We are now closed captioning our show. So that's going to come online in just a few moments. So you can follow along and keep us muted if you want, and you will still know what we are talking about. And we have a really special show today. In just a moment, I have a guest. It's my first guest on my show ever. So hopefully he's going to be patient with me because I'm a newbie when it comes to interviewing. But I'm super excited about this because he's a dad. And what better way to get more parent information than having more moms and dads, and I love getting the dad perspective. So again, thank you so much for joining me today on January 18th with The Art of Parenting on Sway TV on Amazon Live. We're gonna have a great show today. If you are joining us, please follow and you can shop the show. You can talk to us in the chat. We would love to answer your parenting questions, your productivity questions, your self-care questions. And my guest, who I'm about to introduce, he can even answer a lot of your business questions about selling on Amazon. So with that said, I would love to introduce you to Liran Hirschkorn. Liran, welcome to The Art of Parenting on Sway TV on Amazon Live.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited to be here. And yeah, can't wait to talk with you about parenting and business and yeah, any questions that come through.
Great. Well, Liran, do you want to just give us a little bit of background about yourself and what you do and how you got involved in this space? And we'll get into your journey as a parent as well. But I want to give you the floor so that people know who you are and why you're here today as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been in the e-commerce space since 2014. I started selling on Amazon as a side hustle to make additional income. I actually started by going to stores and finding discounted products and closeouts and actually selling them on Amazon, and then graduated into creating my own product line, launching products on Amazon, developing design patents, and kind of making it into a real business. And today I have my own brands as well as run an Amazon marketing agency, helping brands and sellers succeed and sell more products and grow their businesses on Amazon. One of the things that I think is a lot of people don't know, and is kind of a misconception, is a lot of the purchases you're making on Amazon are actually supporting small businesses. And that's something that I wish kind of more people knew and wish that Amazon highlighted more. Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. And then, yes, besides that, I live in New York and have a family.
So what's the weather like in New York right now?
It's kind of cold. It's probably like 40 degrees and cold. So I'd prefer to be in LA.
Yeah. I was not personally at the beach this weekend, but I have a lot of friends who were. The weather here has just been outrageously beautiful, which on the one hand, I'm so appreciative for, and on the other hand, and my girls actually said it to me first, they were like, yes, Mom, but global warming. So, that's the other side of the coin is like, we have this incredible weather because we're not being as good to the earth as we could be. And on that note, I want to share my first product. So this, and I've talked about this before, this is the Keep Cup. And it is one of my favorite ways to have my morning cup of coffee. Liran, I know that on the East Coast it is noon, so you might already be having a glass of wine. I don't know. Or maybe your second cup of coffee. But this is the Keep Cup. I absolutely love this. It's a reusable cup. It can go in the microwave without the lid. It can go, there are people that do put it in the dishwasher. I personally like to wash it by hand. It's super easy to take apart, to put back together. And I highly recommend it because not only is it aesthetically pleasing, which, as you know, if you've watched my show before, that's something that I like and look for in my products. But so it not only is it like, it's lovely to look at, it's nice to hold, and it's also responsible shopping. So the Keep Cup. So Liran, I want to go back to you because I think what you're doing is so incredible. And if we have people that are watching that want to actually ask questions about starting a business on Amazon or how to produce better sales, I know that those are some things that you can talk to. Do you want to share with us a little bit about what it's like to be a dad in this space? Because I know what it's like to be a working mom, but what about being like a working dad? And I know you're you're an actively involved dad. So you're not the dad that like leaves and, doesn't see your kid all day and right?
Yeah. So. I can say that one of the things that I'm really proud of and, super excited that I have this opportunity is that I could that I could work from home. And I've been working from home since before I had an Amazon business. I had an insurance business, and since 2010, I've been working from home. And so when my daughter was born in 2014, although we hired, help for the first 2 years and had help in the house because it's very difficult to work and take care of a baby.
Yes.
After my wife went back to work and went to an office, I was able to see my baby grow up, and be home for that. And I got to see the first walk and the first word and, all those things. And
that's incredible.
Something that, you can't take back. Yeah. And I think one of the things to be most, grateful about, I saw an Instagram post the other day that said something like, you have a home, you have a job, like you work from home, like, everything else is a bonus, right? Like, so I think just being incredibly grateful that I get to kind of spend a lot of time with my daughter. This past year, there's been a lot of Zoom school. And again, that's another opportunity to look at things a little differently. I know a lot of parents, have to juggle a lot also and manage working and their kids on Zoom school. At the same time, I think if you step back and say, wow, like I'll never be able, when the pandemic hit, my wife went, to working from an office to working from home. And one of the things I said back is like, look, we're going to look back at this time and wish, and kind of like appreciate the time that all of us were home together at the same time. We'll probably never again in our lifetime have this kind of like moment and opportunity. So for me, as a dad, I see it as as a great opportunity. And I also used to travel a tremendous amount. And so again, when the pandemic hit, obviously all that shut down. Mm-hmm. And, the opportunity to be home and kind of be there for those moments is sort of it's something that you can't get back.
Yeah, it's so true. You can never get back any of the moments, no matter how old your child is. I think that's actually, it's interesting. It's definitely one of the positives of what we're going through for parents. You know, they've been able to interact with their kids regardless of their age in a really different way than they've been able to. I have friends who have kids that are, you know, significantly older in the teen years and even college years, and those kids who were essentially adults and out of the house and had separated from their parents and were kind of moving to the next phase, they've had to come back and be at home, and they've had to they've had to be as a result of where we're at, but it has actually turned into a really beautiful dynamic in most cases where, you know, the parents have had more time with the kids have had more time with the parents, and they've kind of like almost the relationships that were there in the beginning have been reinforced, and the bonds that were there, you know, before a long time ago, they've come back into play and they've been reinforced. For my friends who have younger kids, you know, they've been able to kind of interact with their kids in a very different way, as far as like being the school teacher and being the mental health person, being everything to their child, right? And one of the things that I think has been really interesting, and while a lot of parents complain about this, you know, and how hard, and it has been really hard and really challenging to take on all of these different roles that we're not accustomed as parents to having to do everything. But one of the things that I've seen is it's actually allowed parents to see their children in a different light, see them as learners, see them even as friends, because we're able to see them and how they socialize very differently. And socializing online is different than socializing offline, but still to be able to see that with our kids. And I'm wondering, you know, if you have seen things with your daughter. Your daughter is 7, I believe, right?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if you've seen things with your daughter this year that you've thought, or you and your wife have said, wow, I didn't know this about her. This is so cool.
Yeah, you know, I would say several things, and you know, before I even jump into that, I think, you know, a lot of people in 2020 were like, I wish 2020 was canceled, and like wish the year never happened. And you know, I think there's just a different, I think perspective is really important, and I think the meaning that you give something is, you know, I'm wearing this hat, which is a Tony Robbins hat, and Tony Robbins talks a lot about the meaning that you give something. It leads to kind of how you focus and how you think about it. And I think you can look back at 2020 and you can find, hopefully you can find all the good moments. You know, my daughter the other day asked, like, what are some of the good things that happened in 2020? You know, and we're kind of talking about it. We're like, well, we got to go on vacation in January before, you know, everything happened. And then we got to spend a lot of time at home, and, you know, there's a lot of positives. As far as like what I've seen a certain level of maturity in my daughter. When the pandemic started last year, she was in kindergarten, and I would see her like with the iPad, like on the carpet, you know, in the living room with like toys around her, and having, you know, it's difficult to keep 6-year-olds in kindergarten, you know, focused on Zoom. And this year, her school shut down for a couple of weeks because of COVID. They were back to Zoom school, and I saw her focused and like writing and reading, and like you really saw the progress of like some level of like maturing from, you know, not being able to focus and pay attention to being able to kind of do more, which has been really nice to see.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I've seen the same thing with my kids. For me, one of the things that has been the most interesting is I've really been able to see them as students this year, because, you know, as much as it has been really challenging and even triggering in some ways to make this leap into a very different type of academics, I've been able to interact more with them in their academic space. I don't know that they love that. You know, I think sometimes they, and in fact, I know that they would really prefer to go back to school than have me kind of like watching what they're doing. But it's been really interesting for me, because I've been able to see, I've really been able to see, you know, the note-taking process and how they advocate for themselves with their teachers, and all of these things that I would hear about and I would maybe see from a distance, but I've been able to see that much more in person, which has been really eye-opening in so many ways, because I feel the same. My girls are older, they're 15 and 12, but I've still been able to see that they are at a totally different level academically than I thought that they were. Than I was giving them credit for. And I also want to go back to the first thing that you said, which was talking about perspective, because I think that this is probably one of the things that has come out of this year for me the most, as a human being, as a mother, as someone who works, as a friend. Understanding that perspective is so important. and feeling and trying to figure out what is it that I have in my life where I saw, underneath your hat it says blessed. And I really feel in so many ways that yes, this has been, for many people, this has been a horrific year. And even for me, we're in lockdown, my kids are not going to school. It has totally changed our life as far as, being able to see our friends. I haven't been able to see my girlfriends in, 8 months now, essentially. And, in the way that we used to socialize. And so it would be very easy to be very upset about this and to be very depressed and to kind of just want to stay in bed or just wallow in that. But then on the other hand, I have, the fortune of what we were just talking about, which is really, being home with my kids and being able to focus on family and being able to really share in so many different situations and experiences that wouldn't have happened if it was a, quote unquote, typical year. And even things like holidays and birthdays that have come and gone, when my kids were upset because they weren't going to get the birthday party that they would otherwise would have maybe had, or they're not able to do something with friends or even at school that they otherwise would have been able to do. The beautiful thing is that we've been able to create new traditions, and we've been able to come up with ideas that are special and unique to this year. And the funny thing about it is I think so many of those, even when we return to normal 2.0, I think so many of those things are going to stick. In fact, my 12-year-old said that this year was, her COVID birthday was like her best birthday ever, which I was really, surprised by. I was shocked and happy because I was so nervous about it because she's such a birthday kid. She loves celebrating her birthday, and I knew that this year was going to be different and, maybe not go the way that she thought. But it turned out to be okay. And I think that is because of perspective, because we talked about it in advance. We laid the foundation and we set realistic expectations for what was going to happen. And as a result, she wasn't disappointed. She knew what was going to happen. It happened. We were able to control it. And then the perspective on it was, yes, you still got to have a beautiful birthday with friends and a picnic not with friends, with immediate family and a picnic on the beach, right? This was something you were still able to get. And so as a result, she still has memories from this year. So I'm curious, have you done anything different? Is there something that you did this year that you brought into your family that was new and unique and, COVID special?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot, and I also heard, there's been a lot of kids, right, in special situations or weddings, right, where people didn't get to expect, or they didn't get the graduation, or they didn't get
the prom,
And I heard a dad tell this to his kid, and he said he wasn't sure if he fully got the message, but it was a child's, it was turning 13, and was supposed to have his bar mitzvah, and he was supposed to have this big celebration. Obviously, he didn't have it. Yeah. And the dad tried to kind of instill this lesson into him that like your biggest joy should be the inner joy of reaching this milestone, and not all the external, sort of like that you get from the outside. And it's sort of another lesson about where do you get perspective, and like where do you get your happiness and joy out of? Like, can you get it internally from reaching a certain milestone, or do you have to have like all the externalities that only then will you kind of be happy? And I think that's a perspective. One of the things that we've sort of done in this lockdown is I've taken more time away from digital. I would say, like, as a family, we've done weekly digital detox. So like 24 hours over the weekend, nobody's on.
Wait a second. You're in the digital space. You're in the tech world.
Yes.
Really, I want to know the truth. You've really, like, you personally, and I don't know what your wife does, but you personally put your phone down, walked away, and didn't go back to it for 24 hours? 24
hours. And this started
That's impressive. I'm impressed.
Thank you. We started with a YouTube video. Go on YouTube and check out this guy who has videos on what he calls a dopamine detox.
Yes.
That's how it started.
Okay.
And it's been like an amazing period of time. Like weekly we do this, and it's my wife will tell me it's the one 24-hour period in a week where she has full 100% attention
from you.
From me, without being distracted,
right.
And on my phone and something popping up, and that's been really, really good. And we just spent more time as a family and with my daughter and without distraction. And I would challenge anybody watching this to try this just once, not commit to it, but take 12 hours or take 24 hours,
or even start with 4 or 6 hours, right? It's like you can baby step into this process.
And I think you'll eventually kind of look forward to that time, because like no matter what, your phone is away, you have no distractions, like there's a certain level of stress, right, that we have with our phones tied to our
Totally.
emails and
Oh
Slack,
God, yes.
everything else that we're doing.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's been, that's been something we kind of started to do some kind of midway into the pandemic. That's been really, really positive.
I love that. I love hearing that. And I especially love hearing that from you because you're a dad who is in technology and business and works in this space. And I think that, so often when I work with parents, moms will say to me, oh, if I could just get my husband to put down his phone. And there's almost like this idea that like the dad can't do it because the dad has to be on and available because of his business or whatever it is. And I think that one of the things that is so important is to know that yes, we can do this and we can baby step into it. So thank you for sharing that. Sorry, go ahead.
I believe anything is possible, right? It's a matter of do you really want to do it, and it's extremely difficult thing to do. It gets easier, but yeah, I think it's definitely possible, and you'll find that it's a certain level of peace that you get when you shut off all tech.
Totally. It's like it's not just a certain level of peace. I feel like it's a massive level of calm that can kind of settle over you. The interesting thing is that I think it takes a couple hours to settle into it. And then once you're there, I think it can really be a great thing. It's funny because I've been known as someone amongst my friends and family who's really bad at getting back to people, but like texting and everything. And part of that is because I don't always have my phone with me. And typically and historically, when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids, especially when they were younger. I would put my phone down for hours and I would catch so much slack for it, but I was with them and I was present with them. And so, yes, sometimes I didn't get back to someone for a day or two and people would get upset with me. And honestly, like there have even been friends that over the years have said like, I can't be a friend to someone who won't get back to me immediately. And I think that we as adults need to also be understanding to like knowing that we have to be present and with our kids. And so part of the digital detox is where is our presence really necessary? And to the point that we were talking about earlier, that you can't get back any of this time. Like if you're not a doctor that is on call, that is literally like, those are the only people I work with. And I'm like, okay, your phone can be on you, right? If you're a doctor and you're on call, if you are not that, you should be able to put your phone down. There is literally no one that should not be able to do that.
So I'll share a statement that I heard maybe a year ago that I think will make it sort of easy to think about as far as like being present.
Yeah.
So I follow Jesse Itzler. A lot of people may not know Jesse, but his wife is Sarah Blakely, who founded Spanx.
Yep. Love Sarah Blakely. Love Spanx.
Yes. And I got a chance to spend some time with him. In fact, last year before the pandemic, I was able to run 10 miles with Jesse. It was pretty cool. One of the things that he says is be where your feet are. Okay. Which is
love that.
Like,
and that's
really
like true mindfulness too. That's like true mindfulness.
Yeah. And, it's that, when you're out playing ball with your kid in the backyard, you're not thinking about the emails and the work and like all the other things, all the other distractions. And I just think it's a great, like,
I love that. I'm writing that down. Be where your feet are. That is such great. It's so nice because it's so easy to remember, right?
Yes. It's super easy to remember. And I'll share one more thing that he says is, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Like, how do you show up when you're spending time with your kids? Like, are you fully immersed in it, or are you, doing something else? And it's those little kind of sayings, right, that remind you, maybe how to better act. One of the other things you were talking about is like, staying in bed. And I think if you want to show up for your kids, then you want to take the sort of role model mindset, mentality.
Yeah.
And think about how am I being looked at right now? What kind of lessons am I trying to teach my kids?
Yeah.
It sometimes forces you to do things differently than how you would have, wanted to.
Totally. Yeah.
So I think taking some of these things, I think has helped me do a better job of being a dad. I don't always want to take the garbage out when my wife asks me to, but my daughter's also there watching, right?
Right.
And so it's these things that as a dad I kind of take greater responsibility in, doing things I don't want to do and doing them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. So, and we're going to jump into, I think that's a great transition for self-care, which we're going to jump into in just a moment. But we have a question from Laura Odegaard. Laura, thank you so much for joining us on the chat. And I'm jumping in with a question. So her question is, Liran, what is the best tip you have for new Amazon sellers? Which is a great question, because I know that there are probably literally hundreds of thousands of people out there that have either that question or one that's really similar. So if someone wants to jump into this space, what would you tell them?
One, I would
aside
tell them
from
that,
coming on this show.
yeah, aside from watching this show every week, I would say that number one, there's a lot of education. There's a big seller community. There's a lot of groups on Facebook. I have a group. I have a podcast. There's a lot of other people that have sort of communities of Amazon sellers, and networking and learning from others is probably one of the best things you could do. And then two, I would just say there is a great opportunity, but you need to go in with the mentality that you're taking it seriously and not giving up, and understanding that your first product, your first launch, all that is your tuition, is your Harvard MBA in selling on Amazon education. And if you launch a product and you spend $2,000-$3,000 or $5,000 bringing that to market, consider that cheaper than going to college for selling on Amazon, and your education of learning as you go. So really, what I would say is take action and learn along the way.
I love that advice. The advice of, like, when you first step into it, consider that time your educational piece, because that's one of the things that I talk about too. I call it the learning curve of any new situation, right? So it doesn't matter what you're doing, and it doesn't matter what your age is either, right? If you're transitioning into something new, whether it's a new job, a new school, a new program you're launching, anything, a product you're selling, anything, there's gonna be a learning curve. I mean, listen, this is my 4th time doing this show, the first 3 times, and even today, you're my first interview. There's a learning curve, right? I'm learning how to talk with you in my ear and pay attention to the chat and everything that's going on. So I think that one of the things that we have to be conscious of too as individuals is to be kind to ourselves, and to know that throughout the process there are going to be ups and downs, and that goes along with what you're saying, that is part of the education. And like in my second show, I spilled coffee all over the computer and had to figure out how to clean it up and keep going, because we're live, right? But it was so embarrassing, and it was crazy. My producer had to come on, but we're live, and I had to keep going, and it was fun, and whoever was watching got to see me spill coffee all over the computer. And now I've learned. Now I have my tricks, right? Like the coffee cup is closed, the lid is on.
Yeah. You have the keep coffee cup.
Exactly. I have the keep coffee cup, and the lid, more importantly, the lid is on, and I have it completely covered. So there you go. I've learned. And that's the education.
Yeah. And I would say specifically surrounding yourself with other people that are wanting to do the same. And then, I've learned to not be the smartest person in the room, right? Surround yourself with other people that have done it, that maybe want to mentor other sellers or want to help. You and I, we met on Clubhouse, right?
Totally.
Which was a room just talking about selling on Amazon.
Like crazy.
Right? So there's a great opportunity, I think, to network and learn from other people. I think you want to take the attitude that you either win or you learn, right? Like there's no such thing as failure.
I love that. You win or you learn. Yeah.
Especially in entrepreneurship, and honestly, being here on Amazon and talking about this. Selling on Amazon is not easy, and Amazon is a huge company, and you're sometimes bashing your head with seller support and dealing with certain things, because they're a tremendously huge company, and there's things that happen that I'm sure Amazon doesn't necessarily want them to or intend to, but they're so big that you have to sometimes fight through a lot of challenges. And I think in any business or as an entrepreneur, you're gonna have to jump over brick walls a lot, and know that going in. But every time you jump off over a brick wall, it's like if you're playing Mario as a kid, you kind of getting to the next level, right? By jumping over that wall and beating the dragon at the end. Sometimes selling on Amazon is like fighting the dragon.
Yeah. Do you find that Amazon is supportive of its sellers, or do you have to figure out a lot on your own and as you go? Is there a support network for, if Laura wants to sell something, is there a place where she can actually get feedback from Amazon itself, since Amazon is the guy in charge?
I would say that Amazon tries, but at the end of the day, it's really in your hands, and finding other resources and better resources than what Amazon will provide you directly.
Okay.
Amazon Amazon tries to be, supportive of small businesses, but it's very difficult with the scale and the level of how big they are. And what I find is that sellers know more than people internally into Amazon about how to sell, just because you might have one person who's in one department, but they don't necessarily know things from that another, person in another department. So you'll find people outside actually know a lot more in terms of how to sell on Amazon than internally.
I have found that in the networking that I've done about being on Amazon, I've gotten so much information from people like you, and like the conversation that we were having on Clubhouse. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think so much of this is about surrounding yourself with people who know more than you do. I think actually the most intelligent people out there and the most productive and the most successful people out there are the ones that actually can admit, hey, I don't know everything and I need to have people around me that can help me when I don't have the answer. I think if we all functioned that way, we would be a much happier society, because so many of us, want to be like the person in charge, but even the person in charge hopefully has people around them that can really kind of guide them and mentor them when necessary. So
I'll give a plug actually to a book you can find on Amazon. It's called Limitless. By
Limitless, awesome.
It's like a best-selling product. And one of the things Jim talks about in the book is when you do come into a room to learn something, always, even if you're an expert in the space, come in assuming you know nothing about it and take notes, right? Because if you come into a room and you already are putting yourself at a level like, I already know this stuff, you're not going to pay attention, you're not going to learn anything, right? So it is in a certain sense taking the sort of mindset that you don't know anything when you're coming into learning something.
Is that one of your favorite books as far as like business and strategy and?
It's a great book that I've read this year.
Okay.
I would say, and I see it's up in the chat, so I definitely highly recommend. Highly recommend the book. I think that I much prefer books around mindset in terms of, because I think if you don't have, and Limitless is one of those books. I think if you don't have the right mindset, it's going to be a major hurdle for you in business. Figuring out
perspective, right?
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. I mean, figuring out how to sell on Amazon, anybody can do. But if you launch your first product there and it's a complete fail, how are you going to react? Are you going to have the attitude that, hey, I just got a great education and I can pick myself up? Or are you going to have the attitude like, this doesn't work, and give up? And ultimately, another thing, I follow Jesse Itzler and I'm in some of his coaching programs. And one of the things he says is stay in the game long enough until you get lucky. And like he talks about his success. He built a marquee jet. He sold it to Warren Buffett's NetJet. He brought Zico water, sold it to Coca-Cola. He's a part owner in the Hawks. And he's like, I don't have anything special. I just stayed in the game long enough until I got lucky with certain things along the way. It's definitely the case, I think, in any business, and especially with selling on Amazon. So
perseverance and grit is what we're talking about, right? Yeah. Like making sure that you don't give up too soon, which I think is definitely really important. I mean, how many, in the business world, how many business leaders would say, yeah, I had an overnight success, but that overnight success actually took 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years until one day they actually did have an overnight success. Right?
And it's typically not their first business.
Right.
That, was the overnight success. Typically they did, 5, 6 things before that again failed. But, where if you read, I would say, Think and Grow Rich, right? Like if you, in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says that every failure plants a seed of opportunity, right? If you think about that, even as I think about my failures at the time, they seemed like a failure, but one thing led to another, which led to some future.
There we go.
Success. Think and Grow Rich.
How do you like that? My producer's on it.
Yes.
We can talk and he can just fill the chat with. These are great books. And I'm a huge reader. I love getting book suggestions. And I read across all different genres. So I have not read Limitless. I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna stick it on my Kindle, which we talk about and which I love and which I've talked about on this show before, that it is kind of like my security blanket, because it is always with me. It is never, it is always like within a foot of me. And so we'll go back to it and I'll show it again and we'll look at a video about it in a moment. But I love my Kindle.
the nice thing about the Kindle as
Yeah.
opposed to using like the Kindle app on your phone is that you don't get those distractions, you know, when you're reading on the Kindle versus using the Kindle app on your phone where, you know, you might get those notifications distracting you.
Yeah, no, totally. You know, and the other, like this, you know, the new Kindle, which has Audible on it, and it has, you know, it's waterproof. So, but the fact that I can listen to things now it's been like a game changer for me, because even, you know, like I'll be sitting with my kids and I can have the, you know, something in my ear, like an earpiece in, and I can be listening to something, but also kind of doing something like, you know, or I can be making dinner or folding clothes. You know, it's a game changer. So, and we are going to get into self-care, because that is what the show is really all about, but it's so interesting to talk to you. Thank you so much, Melissa, for telling us about this. It's saying that great interview. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them. But yeah, Liran is my first guest and we're having so much fun today. We're talking about Amazon business and being a dad and a mom and juggling the work and life and what we've learned this year and living through the pandemic. And we're about to launch into self-care. But before we do, I will show, since we're talking about the Kindle, and because if you've ever watched the show, if you know me at all, you know how much I love the Kindle, how I think it is like one of the greatest inventions known to mankind. But I'm a reader, and so that's why I feel that way. But here we go. You can check this out.
The all-new Kindle Paperwhite. Our thinnest, lightest yet. Now waterproof, with Audible. Plus a sleek, modern design and twice the storage. Kindle Paperwhite is purpose-built for daily escapes, so you can read and relax in more places.
Okay, we don't need to watch the whole video. I always joke that my Kindle, you know, is like my security blanket, like a little, like a child, like a toddler carries around their lovey, because literally, if it's not with me, I feel like not lost, but I read all the time. So if I have 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and that for me that's part of my self-care routine. So we're gonna jump into this because I think that I'm so interested to get your perspective on this, Liran, because you're a dad, and it's interesting when we talk self-care, typically, well, the conversations that I've had around it are typically with women, you know, with other moms. And you brought up Clubhouse a moment ago, and the conversations on there, it's always women who are talking about it, always, right? And the reality is that we all need to be practicing self-care. And the reason for that is that every human being, regardless of age, has like an internal, think of it as like an internal gas tank, right? Where, or a battery. I like to give either analogy to, depending on who I'm working with. But either way, it's, you know, you start the day full, and as the day goes by, it gets depleted, right? And by the end of the day, if you're not doing things to recharge it throughout the day, by the end of the day, it's done, or you've got about that much left. And when you get to that point and you still have to be a parent, or you still have to answer business calls and texts and messages, or you still have to just be present for your significant other, you have almost nothing left to give. And so self-care is really all about figuring out how throughout the day to refill that tank, to re-energize yourself. And there are so many different ways that we can do this, but it's so incredibly important. It's, if you think about the oxygen mask model, right? If you fly on an airplane, they always say to the parent or to the adult, put it on yourself before you put it on your child. And that's because if you're gonna help your child, in order to help your child, you have to be safe first and foremost. If you pass out, you're not gonna be able to help your child. I'm laughing, I shouldn't be laughing. That's not funny at all. But so it's really important to think about that. And so I try to think about self-care as something that is happening every day. And that's really hard, and throughout the day. That's really hard, especially for parents who are working. or even parents who are not working but are home right now with their kids at home and juggling being the parent, the psychologist, the sports coach, the cook, the everything, all the things that we are juggling this year that we haven't had to juggle before. I think that self-care this year is even more important, and I've had even more people tell me this year, I can't practice self-care at all. I have no time. My kids are constantly in my space. I'm constantly in their space. I don't know what to do. So that's why, this is such an important topic to me. It's something that I really believe we need to be so consciously mindful of and practicing as much as possible. And even more importantly, which we're going to talk about in segment 2 of the show, is how do we talk to our kids about it? How do we model it? How do we get them to understand how important it is for their own personal well-being, and so that they buy into it, so that they know how important it is for mom and dad, and that they, kind of let mom and dad do their self-care when mom and dad say to them, honey, I need 5 minutes, right? I know moms that have literally gone to the bathroom for 20 minutes just to escape, to be in the bathroom so they can have 20 minutes of quiet time. So before we get into kind of the nuts and bolts of the product that we're going to talk about, as far as things that can help us relax, because there is, I believe that there are things that you can do just mindfully and with breathing and meditation, which we're going to talk about, right? But I also believe that there are things that can help, that you can bring into your home, that can actually help you to increase, because sometimes when you do see things around, you're like, oh, that jogs your memory, like, oh, I'm going to do that right now. For me, that's my Kindle, right? Like, I know if I have 5 or 10 minutes, I know my Kindle's always within a foot or two of me, and I will pick it up and I will read, because that literally regenerates me. It gives me a few moments of silence, a few moments of escape, and then I put it down. Even after 5 minutes, I feel better. So what works for you, Liran? What is your, what do you do to relax, to disconnect, to refill your tank?
Yeah, and I think it's really important. I was thinking of the same sort of analogy you were talking about, of putting the oxygen mask on first, and I think sometimes maybe people equate self-care to selfish, and I think it's 2 different things, right?
Totally.
Like you said, in order to show up as your best self in the world, you need to do certain things. So in order to, serve others, give, be a great parent, be good in business, there's certain things that you need to do to take good care of yourself first, right? Like I kind of always, when I think about myself in business, right, I think about I'm the machine that powers the business, but if the machine is rusty, the business is not going to operate as well, or the parenting is not going to be as good, right? If the machine is slow, or doesn't have as much energy, then everything that machine is doing is not going to be 100%. And it's kind of how I think about it. I learned transcendental meditation in 2007.
Love TM.
And the reason why I sought that out is because of dealing with anxiety and dealing with just the anxieties of everyday life and business and everything we deal with. And for me, that 20 minutes of doing transcendental meditation is a big sort of re-energy that I get. I taught my daughter, or I took my daughter to learn. When you're 5, you can learn. There's like a kids walking meditation.
Yep.
We're not, I would say, super consistent with it, but it's something that she's learned and she's aware of and knows about. I think exercise is one of those things that you really do for yourself that can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, one of the, I asked myself a question at the beginning of this year, because a lot of us set goals, and probably by now, a lot of us have forgotten about the goals that we set as New Year's resolutions, right? It's getting into the end of January, typically, where people kind of drop off. And so one of the questions I asked myself was, what could be one thing that if I do it every day, it will be a domino effect for everything else in my life? And for me, this isn't a specific product on Amazon, but for me, it's writing in a journal.
Yes.
And writing daily. And I think that could be a great way to take a lot of the mess that you might have in your head, or thoughts that you might have in your head, and put them down on paper, both in terms of things that are maybe troubling you that don't seem as bad when you get them out into paper and you say to yourself, okay, what is the worst case scenario, right? Like in it's a lot of asking yourself the right questions. One great Amazon product to recommend is a book and workbook called Morning Pages, which is, basically an exercise you do every morning, writing out like 3 pages. I think it's the, you can look it up, Morning Pages, and there's a book around it.
I bet it'll show up in the chat any second now.
Yeah, yeah, morning pages, journal. But there's actually a book that talks all about the process. And for me, it's writing down what I want to accomplish for the week, for the day. And I feel like you have you have much more sort of personal responsibility when you are writing things down that you want to do. And so for me, writing down that I want to exercise this week, that I want to meditate, that I want to take that time, gives me a higher likelihood of succeeding in those areas. Even if I don't do them every day, I try not to beat myself up over it. But writing things down has been something that's really helpful, taking everything out of your head, and writing down what do I want to accomplish, or when you're worried about something, what is the worst case scenario? Writing things down, and you end up realizing that it's not as bad as you have it in your head a lot of the times. And by journaling, I just think it's a very meditative. If you don't like meditating or don't feel like that's something you're into or want to do, I think journaling could be a form of meditation without meditating.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I absolutely love journaling. I've been doing it off and on almost my whole life. And actually, the one that I'm journaling in right now is this journal called Becoming. It's a guided journal for discovering your inner voice. It's Michelle Obama's journal that she put out kind of to accompany her book. And one of the things that I actually usually don't write in prompted journals because I like to just kind of free flow and just brain dump when I journal. But this has been really an interesting experience for me because of the guided questions. It has made me think more clearly about certain things and to be more intentional about certain things. And in the very first show that we did, we talked about, it was right, I can't remember now if it was either right before or right after the New Year. I think it might have been right after. And one of the things that we talked about was really living with intention and thinking about every day, waking up and thinking about like, what do you want the day to look like? What do you want the week to look like? What are the things that we're going to do for ourselves, for our children, for our significant others? How are we going to support them? And so this guided journal has been really interesting because it's actually helped me to hone in on some of those intentional internal dialogues. And I so agree with you. I think journaling is one of the best ways to and a really good entry into meditation or visualizations. The other one that I really love that I want to share, and I was going to show this in a later segment, but since we're talking about journaling, I think it's really appropriate, is this one that I'm holding right here, and it's called Just Between Us. This is a journal. It's a mother and daughter, no stress, no rules journal. And this is a great way to talk with your children and to get them to start journaling. So I really wanted my girls to be journalers. Is that a word? To be kids who journaled their feelings. And neither one of them kind of organically got into it. But what I found was that when I did something like this, it prompted them, kind of like the prompted guided journal for me prompts me. And so this also did is this created a really safe space for me and my daughter to talk. And the rules for our journal is that what we talk about in the journal stays in the journal. And so that way she's able to bring up things, and I can bring up things, and we can have a dialogue, even a dialogue that if we were actually saying it aloud, it would maybe be stressful and would maybe cause tears or anger. But when it's here, it feels the stress is removed. And the other thing about when you write it here, you can be intentional about what you're saying. Whereas when you're having a dialogue sometimes with people, you just say things off the cuff and then later on you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't said that. In a journal, you can really think about what you want to say. And so especially with children, it gives you an opportunity to have that dialogue, a very intelligent dialogue, where they're not going to feel like you're nagging them, which I have found with kids goes a long way if they don't feel like they're being nagged, right? They don't put up their internal defenses and shut you out and shut you down. So yeah, I think that journaling is so important, and I couldn't agree more. I love journals. The other thing that's really interesting is I was having a conversation last night with my 12-year-old, and she was telling me how she was having all of the, we have a very good relationship. She was sharing what she's going through and some things that she's dealing with socially, with school, etc. And, she said to me, I know I should be able to handle all of this on my own, but it just feels like a lot. And I said to her, you're not supposed to be able to handle all this on your own. Like you're really smart and you're great and you're empathetic and you're caring, but you're also 12. And so that's why you have me and you have your dad and you have your sister and you have your friends. And then she said to me, I think I should start journaling. And I just thought as a mom, oh, I've done my job, just a little bit. I'm like,
Yeah, my parents, it's my daughter's birthday. You see behind me like a couple of wrapped gifts. My wife was wrapping earlier. It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow. And my mom said to me, hey, can, order something for her on, on Amazon. Like I have my parents' card also stored on my Amazon account.
Right.
And,
nice.
They're like, order something and,
right.
That she wants. And like, she really doesn't need anything. And I asked my daughter, like, what do you want? And she said, I want something the whole family can enjoy. And I was like, I've done my job. She's not just thinking, about herself.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Those moments that, something happens and you're like, yeah, I've done my job. So I have to jump off for a podcast, but
okay.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for being here, Liran. I hope that you have a great day, and maybe we'll have you back on to talk more about this. Yes. But it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed this. So thank you so much, and I hope the podcast goes well. Have a great rest of the day and a good week.
Thank you.
Bye. So that was Liran Hirschkorn. We are on The Art of Parenting on Sway TV on Amazon Live. We are talking today all about self-care. We got to have the dad perspective on self-care, which I so enjoy getting the dad perspective. I just think that it's really important when we're having a parenting discussion. Sometimes the dad's perspective isn't carried into the conversation, and I always think that it's actually detrimental to the conversation if we're not being inclusive, because especially today, dads today are so much more a part of the daily practice, and they're involved and they're with their kids, and sometimes they're not with their kids, but they're helping with the housework. And moms and dads are really sharing more of the roles, or in two mom households they're sharing the roles, in two dad households they're sharing the roles. So I think it's really important that both caregivers, or all caregivers, regardless of what the situation is in your home, that we're inclusive and we're talking about everyone. And one of the things that I was saying to Liran is that so much of the time, this conversation about self-care, it centers around women, and it centers specifically around the mom. And the reality is that it is not just about the mom. And if we're actually modeling self-care to our children, we want them to understand that it's not about one single person, it's about everyone. It's about everyone practicing self-care so that we can all be the best people that we want to be, and we can all come to the table mindful and prepared with intention and ready for the day to have a great day. And so let's talk a little bit more about some of the different things that I love for self-care, because Liran was so interesting. I didn't get to really share any of my favorite products that I said I would. So one of the things that I love so much that I incorporate into my routine are things that activate certain senses that are maybe not always being activated. So for example, what I am talking specifically about are the sense of smell and the sense of listening. When we activate those senses, we can actually, our mind, our brain is utilizing different parts of the brain, which is always good for development. And then even more importantly, it can center us and it can focus us, and it can help us and guide us and bring us back down into the present. And Liran just gave this quote, which I totally love, and I'm going to now use all the time, which is "Be where your feet are." And I think that when we are listening to music, when we are smelling something that smells really good, it can jog memories, it can make us feel good, it can make us feel happy, because we get the release of the happy hormones, right? And you get that warm, fuzzy feeling. And think about when you step into your house during like the holidays, for example, and your favorite meal is on the stove, and you smell that, and it just it makes you feel so good and happy and fills you up with gratitude for the moment and happiness. And so that's what elevating those senses that's what that is really all about. And there are some very specific items that I want to share with you. So that are really, they fall into my personal care routine when I'm talking about self-care. And they're really easy, simple things, and quite frankly, basically passive. So they're not things I have to, that take a lot of time. They're just things that make me feel good and fill up that tank that we were talking about, because that's what this is really about. It's really about filling up the tank so that you can be your best self and get you through the day, right? So this is, I'm gonna show both of these. This is the first thing that we have lots of these around our house. This is part of the Mario Badescu skincare line. This specifically are their facial sprays. There are 2 in the line. There are 4 in the line. This is 2 of the 4. So that means you can pick out your favorite scent. But this is a really quick, you can spray it and it just smells really good. And it also is hydrating. So if you're hot, like just spraying that on me right now because I'm under lights in the studio, and it smells good, but also it feels very refreshing and feels really good. So that was this product right here. Here we go. The video is not wanting to, up there. So that's the Mario Badescu facial sprays, which I really, they're just like, what's so nice about them is they're like such a quick little fix. They make you, I was just sitting here thinking, God, it smells so good. Yes, because I just sprayed that. And they're really, they're little, and they come actually in multiple sizes. There's a travel size, so you can take it with you. I know no one's doing a whole lot of traveling right now, but when you are traveling, we would take these on the plane and spray our face, and it feels really good. And creates a nice smell in the cabin for all the people around us. Hopefully they're okay with that. So the other product that I love as far as elevating the sense of smell is this company, LAFCO. They make what I think are the best candles on the market. I beyond love them. I'm a huge fan. Yes, if you look at that price point, they are a little bit higher than other candles out there, but they are so worth it because they smell incredible. And the scent in your home travels further because the quality of the product is amazing. So this is, LAFCO is the brand. They have all different kinds of candles. And then the other thing that I love that LAFCO makes are the reed diffusers. But I have a hack for you because the reed diffusers are very pricey. But what I did is I purchased the diffuser refill, which is not as pricey as the actual, the full reed diffuser. And I purchased it in the scent that I like. And then I had I picked up just another reed diffuser I got this at a store that I just loved the design of this. And then I just pour this in here and voila, I have a LAFCO reed diffuser for basically half the price. So that's a hack that I love. And LAFCO products, I think, as I said, they're a little bit pricier, but the quality is so good, they last longer, and it's really worth it. The other thing about elevating, so we talked about elevating the sense of smell, but as far as elevating the sense of sound. So music is known to be something that can change our moods immediately. And one of the things that I think, if you don't already have this in your home, having a Bluetooth portable speaker, and this one that I'm going to share with you is waterproof. So if you're taking a bath for self-care, which I highly recommend, you can bring this Bluetooth speaker into the bath, not into the bathtub, but into the bathroom. I don't recommend actually submerging it in water, but you can have it near the bathtub, and yeah, it's great. I love, love, love it. Okay, so that is the Bluetooth speaker. And look, there are lots of brands out there. I happen to really love the Echo and the Kindle, the Amazon brands as well. This one I just think is really portable. It's fun to look at. It's just, you can see right there, it's like by the pool, which I have a teenager and a tweenager, and so obviously not now because the weather's cooler, but during the summer when the numbers were lower and they were able to have like a friend or two over and do a swim play date because that was one of the safer things that they could do. And so having a waterproof speaker by the pool and they could listen to music, it's great for them. And for me, I listen to classical music in the evening when I'm settling down. So depending on what I want to be, what I'm doing and the energy level that I'm going for during the day, I actually try to have music playing in the background. I used to say, I would say maybe a dozen years ago or so, I made a comment, and I still feel this way, but it has changed now a little bit. But I used to say, I wish I could set my life to a soundtrack where there was always music playing based on what I was doing and according to my mood. Well, the beautiful thing now about technology is you essentially can do that. And so whether it is on, in your ears on like an AirPod type of situation, or whether you have a Bluetooth speaker, or whether you have the Echo playing in the background or Google Home playing in the background, the beautiful thing about this is you can have music on all the time and you can change it instantly. And so we do that. So in the morning, we'll have kind of calm, getting ready music. We have dance parties throughout the day sometimes. When my kids are studying and doing homework, I hear them, they put on playlists that have, not classical music, that's me, but they will put on music that's has more of a chill vibe. It's still top 40 or indie artists or people, that they love and that they follow, but it's a more chill vibe. And I would say that there is, given that I have a 12 and a 15-year-old, there is always music on in the house. And usually there's 2 or 3 different kinds of music going at the same time, depending on which room of the house you walk into, which is always fun. And in the evening, when I need to go from I've been going all day and I need to calm down and I need to self-soothe and bring my energy levels down and start the calming chemicals, get those going from my brain so that my body will start to transition into evening and sleep time, which is a serious transition. The ability to self-soothe can be challenging for many people. Yes, there are people that at the end of the day, they put their head on the pillow and they crash out. That is not me. I have to do a number of different things to help me get to sleep. I have a routine, and it's listening to classical music and it's reading from my Kindle. And the other thing that I do, and this is also elevating the sense of hearing, is, and this is gonna sound funny because usually people use this in their baby and their kids' rooms, but whoops, that I accidentally clicked on that. But a white noise machine, right? And so I recommend this one. This is the Dome Classic. I think it's so funny. It said, use this so that anyone can sleep like a baby, because white noise machines are, historically speaking, they're thought of to be more to help young children and babies sleep. But I have one. I'm obviously an adult, and my 15-year-old has one, and my 12-year-old has one, and they've had them since they were babies, and they still love sleeping with them. So I'm a huge believer in having a white noise machine because I think that it actually helps your brain calm down and settle into a sleep mode, and it helps keep you asleep, which I think is really important as well. So if you like any of the things that you've seen so far that we've talked about, if you like any of the books that Liran was talking about earlier, you can shop the show, you can talk to me in the chat. We are on, this is The Art of Parenting on Sway TV on Amazon Live. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. We are talking about the art of parenting. Specifically, we are talking about self-care today. And so now I want to talk about we're gonna kind of transition into segment 2 of the show and talk about the importance of modeling self-care and teaching self-care to our kids. So, the question is why? Why is this so important? Why do we need to model it? Why do we need to teach it? What is the reason behind this? Well, it's two-part. The first part is that I want my children to know how to practice self-care so that they can be constantly filling up their own personal batteries or gas tank throughout the day so that they themselves won't get depleted. Because let's face it, in the latter part of the day, that's when they need to be doing their homework and their activities and being social and with their friends, right? And so one of the things that is so important for children is for them to understand how to be practicing self-care and filling up their tank as well, okay? And so that's part one. The second part is really somewhat self-serving in that if your child understands the importance of self-care and they themselves are practicing self-care and they get how important it is, why it feels good, etc., they're gonna understand why you, mommy or daddy, need self-care. And so when you say to them, hey hun, I'm gonna help you in 10 minutes, but I need 10 minutes for self-care, or I need 10 minutes to read this article, or I need 10 minutes to make this phone call, or I need 10 minutes to just time out and be in my room, and then you can do whatever you want. For me, it's probably gonna be sitting and reading my Kindle. But when you say that to your child, then they will understand and they will give you that self-care time, right? So it is so important that for multiple reasons that we get them involved in this process. And Nick, hi, it's so nice to have you on and joining us. Thank you so much. You can put me on your podcast. Sure, we can talk. That sounds like a really great, fun idea. I would love to be on. And then maybe we can reciprocate and you can come on here and we can talk. We can talk business, we can talk product, all this fun stuff. So we can build out a show all around it. So that's one of the things that I love to do. I love to talk parenting and figure out how it ties into all these other parts of our lives. Because let's face it, if you're a parent, you know that it is a job that is going and going and going constantly. You are never not a parent. You cannot ever walk away from being a parent. So yes, please reach out to me. Let's figure it out. I would love to chat with you and we will move forward. So connections all around. And if anyone else is following in the chat, please, reach out to me and we can talk about how we can help each other. You can come on my show. I can go on your show. If you have a product that you want to sell, you can let me know and I can look at it. I will say that all of the products that I talk about, I am not paid to promote these products. These are products that I love and I use and I stand by them personally, and they actually make a difference in my life or my kids' lives. And I strongly, strongly believe that if you bring them into your life, they will make a difference in your life as well. And so that I think is something that that will always be the case. I always want to be able to say to you, the viewer, this is something that I love and has made a difference in my life, and I think you should have it too. I think you will love it too. So even when we're talking about a product that's a little bit pricier or something that's like an everyday thing, there's a reason why I'm reviewing it. There's a reason why I'm sharing it with you. So you can feel confident shopping the show. You can feel confident and know, hey, if I get that LAFCO candle, I'm really gonna love it and it's gonna smell really amazing and it's gonna last a really long time. That to me is quality. I am all about quality over quantity. So yeah, especially because we're gonna, in the third segment, we're gonna talk about creating more calm in the home and productivity in the home. And the best way to do that is to get rid of the extra, to calm the chaos. And so I don't wanna have 10 candles in my home, although my daughters wanna have 10 candles in their rooms, but that is a whole nother story. I wanna have 1 or 2 candles, one downstairs and one upstairs that are gonna make the entire downstairs smell really good or the entire upstairs smell really good. The LAFCO candle does that because of the quality of the candle. So that's when we're talking about the product on this show, you can be assured that no matter what I am talking to you about, it is a product that I stand by wholeheartedly. Okay, and on that note, I want to talk about the things that I use with my children, with my girls, or things that when I'm working with clients and doing the one-on-one consulting and having parents teach self-care to their kids, what some of the things are that they can utilize in their self-calm, creating calm toolkit, self-care toolkit. And I like to think about parenting in as far as what are the things that we can put in our toolkit to help us, to help our kids, right? If we have a really full toolkit, then we have strategies in place that they can help us be the best parents possible, and they can help our kids to be the best children possible. So we already talked about journaling. I talked about journaling with Liran, so I'll just show this journal again. This is just one of many on Amazon, and I have lots of other suggestions for different journals that I like. So if you want more suggestions, you can reach out to me either on Instagram or Facebook, or you can go to my website and find me and send me an email. That's intuitparenting.com. And when you do that, I'm happy to get back to you. You can ask me questions. I'm happy to send you a list of things that I love. And you can always shop the show on Amazon Live. The products that I like, they're always going to be up in the Art of Parenting section. So please, just shop the show. If your daughter says to you or your son says to you, just like mine last night said, maybe I should be journaling, you can go, oh, I'm going to go on to the Art of Parenting. I'm going to get that journal that Marissa was talking about, because I'm telling you that it is one of the best ones out there. Okay, so some of the other things that I like, Liran was talking about transcendental meditation, and talking about how they have a program for children. So one of the things that I have found as someone who practices meditation, visualization, breath work, is that it's actually kind of challenging to get your kids to buy into that, right? Especially your younger kids. And so if you have younger kids, this is a great book. It is called, let me pull it up here so that we can see it. It's called Sitting Still Like a Frog. This is the book. It introduces the basics of mindfulness to children in an easy to understand and playful way, and it guides them through learning all about presence of mind, presence of heart, presence in the body. And even though this is something that we're all capable of and we can all learn, it's hard. These are really challenging principles for young children to learn. And so this is a great book. It comes with a CD that will take you through exercises. This is one of my favorites for young children. And then as they get older, there are so many other great things that you can do with children. I'm just going to show you. I don't actually have it here, to hold up and show you, but this is something else I really love if you have older children. This is the mindfulness journal for teens. And I was saying earlier that I really like Michelle Obama's journal. That's what I'm journaling in right now. And I like that journal because it's prompted and guided and gives me things to think about and really be intentional about. That is what this is. This is kind of like the equivalent of that for teenagers that I have found. I really like this journal. I think it helps to pinpoint very specific things that they can write about and think about and be intentional and mindful about in their daily lives. And I like that because it really will focus them in on, when I said, for myself, I like to wake up in the morning and think, okay, well, what do I want to do today? What do I want to get done? What am I trying to accomplish? What do I want my mood to be like today? I try to be intentional about that. And this journal, I think, really helps teenagers as well. And also, by the way, tweens, if you have a son or a daughter that is, I would say 11, 12, and they want to write, just because they're not technically a teenager, this is okay. This would be a great book. And then, sorry, not a book, a journal. And then there are two more that I want to share just because I think that they're really great, is this one, which is again for younger kids, but this one is the 3-minute gratitude journal for kids. So I think it's really important that we're teaching our children from a really young age about gratitude, the ability to find gratitude, the ability to be appreciative and grateful for the things that we have. Especially, I think this year, more than any other time in my life, has taught me all about being grateful for what we do have and what we can give back to people and how we can give back to people, and modeling that for my children and having them really understand that, I think has been such an important part of this year and has really set the foundation for getting through this year in a very healthy, mentally healthy way. I know that, you know, my children and the kids that I work with privately and one-on-one, when we talk about gratitude and we talk about the things that have gone well this year, they have a different perspective on this year. And we talked about perspective with Liran, but it's really easy to get mired down in the, oh, this happened and I'm not getting this and all, right? But if we actually are grateful for what we do have and things that have gone right and new things that have happened, it changes the way that we feel and it changes the way that we think about everything. And then that changes our mood and our attitude, and it can have an overall effect on us that can be beautiful and long lasting. And that's what we want to cultivate in our children. Cultivate, that's the word I was looking for. We really want to cultivate that in our children. Okay. So, and then the last journal that I want to share with you is this Big Life journal. This is for kids. I really like this journal because it is another journal that prompts, but it also talks about life goals. So it's a little bit more big picture. But so I think depending on the kind of child that you have, the kind of kid that you know, the age of your child, if they are going to need to be prompted, if you really want them to focus on gratitude, if you want them to think long term, these are just some different journals that I really love for kids. I think that they ask really amazing questions. They're not they're not hard at all to write in. They're really easy. And so I think, you know, it's sometimes hard to get kids to start writing. The gratitude journal, for example, is so easy. Like, you could even start with your child that is not, that's not writing, like reading or writing yet. Like, let's see if I can open just to show. I love how easy this is. So see, like, the page is set up in a way where you get to write what the day is, and then you write what you're thankful for, and then in like an emoji way, you can show how you feel, which, let's face it, all kids today, they're all about emojis. And then it says, what was the best part about your day? And it says, draw or write about it. So I love this journal because if you have really young kids, you can help do some of the writing, and then they can draw a picture and they can look back on it. How beautiful is that, to have this record of things that they're grateful for? So yeah, I love the journals we're talking about. Okay, so the next thing that I want to share with you, and if you've ever watched the show before, you know how much I love this company. This is Ebu. They make awesome toys, games, and the quality is outstanding. The longevity of their products is amazing. It will last you more than 3 or 6 months, which is always my I guess my issue, quite frankly, with a lot of toys and products that we bring into our home for our children, is that it's like, I call them like one and done. And so that to me is really infuriating. And yes, there are some that you have to do that with, but if you bring a lot of those one and done type of products into your home, you're gonna have crazy amounts of chaos and just stuff everywhere, and that decreases productivity, which we're going to talk about in the next segment. So this is something that these cards are great as far as talking to your kids about how they feel. They are conversation cards. They have really fun illustrations. See, they use like fruits and vegetables to display how someone is feeling, and then they pose questions. You can see, is the big tomato worried, sad, or proud? So with young kids, you can really start having conversations where you're using the language of emotions. And one of the most important things when you are a parent, one of the most important gifts you can give your child is to be their emotion coach and to teach them about emotions and to have them understand how to handle their emotions in developmentally appropriate ways. And as they get older, how to receive the emotions that are happening around them. So the emotions on other people. And what does that mean, right? When I say that, what does that mean? Well, that means that a child can look at their friend, and by their friends, the intonation in their voice or the look on their face, they can understand that their friend might be sad or their friend might be happy, and then they can relate to their friend according to what their friend's needs are. That, if you can teach your child to do that, you are teaching your child about, that is emotional intelligence, and that is one of the most important things that we can give our children. So all of the parenting that I teach and all of the parenting that I am working with parents on, and when I go out and do public speaking, it's all from their 4 parenting principles that I am always going back to. They are emotion coaching, positive discipline, mindfulness, and brain development. And I strongly, strongly believe that if you are looking at, your parenting from this place, then you are going to be the best parent. If you're working from parenting from this place of understanding these 4 pillars of parenting, you are going to be the best parent possible, and your children are going to reap the rewards well into their adult life. So those emotion cards, and by the way, Ibu has these other cards as well, and I think that these are great too. There's I heard your feelings conversation cards, and and also the what's going on here. And so these are all meant to help children really start to understand the situations around them. And I think that that is just really important when you are a child, to have someone not just teach you math, not just teach you how to calm down out of a tantrum, not just teach you how to be a good sleeper, but to teach you about emotions. So one of the best gifts that you can give your child is to be their emotion coach. Okay, so now I want to talk, so we've talked about the things that, actually, I want to just reiterate the, I know I've said this a couple times now, but I want to reiterate the speaker, which is right here. See how little, I don't know that I even showed it before because I showed the video, but do you see how little and portable that is? So I just want to reiterate the speaker for kids too. As I said before, we do dance parties. We also have calming down sessions, depending on what the needs in the home are. I will put on relaxing classical music if my kids need to calm down emotionally. And so I just want to reiterate for kids too, it's really important to have something that you can play music on in the home and around frequently, something where you can elevate their sense of smell. And so my kids use these Mario Badescu sprays, and as I said before, they light candles up the wazoo. It's crazy how many candles we've got going, and well, they have going in their rooms. And then the white noise machine, which again, obviously or maybe not obviously, you're not using the white noise machine during the day, right? But that is something that can be really instrumental in helping your kids, their brains calm down from the day and the go and the being online and on Zoom as much, and then just bringing everything down, self-soothing into a different state of being, the sleep state, right? It is, transitional moments are challenging. And for children to go from being on the computer as much as they are these days, which again, a whole other topic for a whole other show. We could talk about that, the state of education and the amount of screen time that's happening. But, getting kids off of that, and then, their activities and being with mom and dad and siblings and the workload, transitioning from that into a sleep state, you can't just turn it off like this, right? You have to do things to create calm. And so the white noise machine is just one piece of your self-soothing toolkit. So again, if you like any of the different products we're talking about, shop the show. This is The Art of Parenting on Sway TV on Amazon Live, and we're talking all about self-care today. We had Liran Hirschkorn here with us for about the first hour. We were talking about self-care for dads and moms and for busy entrepreneurs and what it looks like, what he's doing, what I do in our homes to actually practice self-care. So the final piece of this, in segment 3, what I really want to focus on is, we've talked about self-care for ourselves, and we've talked about the importance of self-care for our children and modeling that, and why it's so integral to their lives and to our lives. And so the third part of this is, what can we do in our homes? What are some home hacks that we can utilize to help with self-care. And you may not think that there's a connection between cleaning and organization and self-care, right? Like you might be thinking, well, if I have to fold the clothes, or if I have to do the laundry, or if I have to cook dinner, that is not self-care. Well, that's true. That is not self-care. That's caring for your family. It's getting things done that you have to do. We all have those things that we have to do. However, this is where self-care comes in, and this is why it's so important to think about the things that you do in the home. What is one thing that we all share in common, that no matter who we are, no matter what our socioeconomic background is, what our religion is, the color of our skin, how old we are, what is the one thing we all have in common? The one thing. Well, there's a couple things. I mean, we all go to the bathroom, but the one thing that we all share in common is we have this precious commodity of time. And it's the same for all of us. We all have the same 60 seconds in a minute. We all have the same 60 minutes in an hour. We have the same 24 hours in a day, the same 7 days a week, and the same 365 days a year, unless it's a leap year. We all have the same amount of time. It is a precious, precious commodity. And when we have to do things that are not related to self-care, which is the majority of our time, we are not filling up that tank. And so we need to figure out ways to put time into our schedule and our routine so that we can fill up our self-care tank throughout the day, right? Because that's the one thing that I hear relentlessly is, yes, of course I want to take care of myself. I don't have the time. Give me the time. So that's what this segment is all about, finding time in your day. And one of the things that I have found that works beautifully is bringing things into my home that help keep me more organized, help with cleaning, help with cooking, things that really give me time, because those things become passive activities. So it gives me time to dedicate to other areas of my life. And some of that time I dedicate to my kids, some of that time I dedicate to work, and some of that time I dedicate to self-care. And so those are the things right now that I want to share with you, because they're great home hacks that if you integrate them into your routine, you will get the time for self-care, I promise, okay? So that's the 360 degree, we're going back to self-care, even though it's gonna look like, oh, these are just home products. No, they're not just home products. They are home products, but not just. They are home products that are gonna give you time. Time is a precious commodity that we don't have enough of. So anything that we can do to give ourselves more time means time can be allotted to something else rather than cleaning, cooking, and organizing. Okay, so, and your productivity will increase. Okay, so the first thing that I want to share with you in this arena of self-care, but home hacks, is this charging station, which happens to be an Amazon bestseller, but I found it, I think, before Amazon made it a bestseller, or before people made it a bestseller. This is the Hercules Tough charging station for multiple devices. It comes with 6 USB fast ports and 6 short mix USB cables are included. Okay, that's what I love, because look at this picture here. Look at how organized that looks. I mean, it looks organized and it's aesthetically pleasing, which, as you know, if you know me, that's something that I like. So check this out. Okay, so I just stopped the video because I don't think we need to keep watching it. But what I love so much about this is it keeps all of your different devices in one place. I think my personal recommendation is that you should have this in your kitchen or in a common space that is not a bedroom. I don't like the idea of charging all of these devices in a bedroom for multiple reasons. But most of which, Liran and I were talking earlier all about this idea of disconnecting. And if your devices are within arm's reach of you, it's very challenging to fully disconnect. And so there is a lot of research now that as far as transitioning into sleep and calming down and self-soothing, when our devices are near us, it's really hard to do that. Children and adults alike. It's very challenging. So actually removing the devices from your room, or when you're going to sleep or when you're not going to sleep, but you need some time, you need just to kind of calm down and self-soothe during the day and practice self-care. Plug your device in and walk away from it and know that it's being charged, and you don't need to attend to it 24/7 unless, as I said before, you are a doctor and you are on call. There is almost no one in this world that needs to have their phone or any device on them at all times. And that I know is something that we struggle with, but part of the reason why we struggle with that is because if it is close to us, we genuinely feel like there's this invisible tether to it. There's like this addiction to our technology. But if we get away from it, if we plug it in and put it down and walk into a different room, that invisible tether cord that would otherwise be there goes away a little bit. So I'm a firm believer in having a charging station, and this is my favorite one. I absolutely love it because it comes with the cords, it looks really nice, and you can charge up to 6 devices in a really organized way really quickly. So we're in the kitchen, right? That's because I said that's where I want to keep us, or wanted to keep the devices charging. So since we're in the kitchen, let's stay in the kitchen. This is something that I just love. I don't think that there is a video for this. So I'm just gonna talk about this. But okay, so these are, oh wait, these actually are not the ones that I wanted to show you. Well, those work but it's not exactly the one that I have sitting in my lap, but it's the same idea. Okay, there's 2 that I usually talk about, so we'll talk about both. Okay, so this is an airtight food storage container set. Okay, this is one example. The lid pops up and it comes off. It's super easy. And then when you want to you can put food in there, and then you put it back in here and you pop it down, and it's sealed in an airtight manner. So here's what I love about this. Again, aesthetically pleasing. It's clear, so anything that's in here, you can see it, and you can put it in your pantry, and you can put all kinds of things. I have a baking section, I have a pasta section and cereal, so dry goods, right? I have all different kinds of things, and everything I keep in containers like this, so that when I open up my pantry, I can see what's there, and I can easily get it. But here's the beautiful thing about this product. I use these all over my home. So art materials get stored in these storage containers because they're clear and they're easy to use and pick up and store and organize, right? You can put medicine in a locked cabinet, in these. You can put anything that you want to organize. The great thing about these food systems is that these containers come in all different sizes. So you can personalize whatever you are storing to the size that you need. So you can use it all over your house for everything. You can use it for art supplies, you can use it for office supplies, you can use it for medicine, you can use it all over. So we have these all over the house. And then the second part of my system, as far as organizing these, is I use a label maker, which helps with everything in my house. My kids give me a hard time because I am label maker obsessed. I happen to really like the Dymo Letra Tag. This is one in the series, one of them. You can see the picture as well for this other one. This is so embarrassing to admit, but I actually have 2 of these. I have one upstairs and one downstairs, so if ever I'm in need of labeling something, it's close by. Okay, so that's the label maker, and I'm a huge, huge fan of the label maker. So again, we're gonna stay in the kitchen because I have a few more things that really help in the kitchen. So I just need to go to, because this next item is actually not on my list. It's on the Zulai list because I love, Zulai has just great products for the kitchen. I know if you've watched the show before, you've seen me talk about the smoothie maker, which I love, and the frother, which I love. But today I want to share with you the Lazy Susan. Okay, I just want to say this is not a joke, okay? Because if I'm telling you like one of my favorite products for the kitchen and I'm saying, oh, it happens to be this thing called a Lazy Susan, you're gonna probably think I'm totally joking. I am not. This is the Zulai Lazy Susan in their blue color. See, just in case you don't know what a Lazy Susan is, it's something that you can put different items on, and then you can turn it like this, right? So that you have easy access. So here's what I want to tell you about the Lazy Susan. I'm going to put this down. Hopefully nothing's going to fall. No coffee on the computer, please. Okay, so I have a Lazy Susan. I have 2 in my pantry. I have 1 in my refrigerator, and I have 1 on my kitchen counter. So in my kitchen, I have 4 Lazy Susans. Now, that may seem like overkill, but here's the thing. My pantry is not very big, but I need to have access to things. So on one Lazy Susan, I have my spices, and on the other one, I have different oils that we use for cooking. And it's super easy to get to them instead of having to reach behind things, because I just spin my little Lazy Susan and I can get to whatever it is I need, right? So that's what in the pantry, how I use it. Then in the refrigerator, I have my dairy products. I have a few different kinds of butter that we use in the home, depending on what we're making, like a vegan butter, a regular butter. And then I also have cream cheese on it, and I have just some other things. I have things in the dairy world that are on the Lazy Susan. And again, I don't have a really huge, large, fancy new refrigerator, but what I've done is I have found ways to make what I have work for me and be very functional. And that is the key, to find function in your items so that you don't have to spend the extra time looking. It's easy. And then when you want to clean up, it's easy because it has a place to go to. I am not an organizer by profession at all. It's not my area of expertise at all. But one of the things that I have learned from watching organizing shows is that if the item, any item that you want to put away, if it has a place where it lives when you're not using it, it can get put away easily. And when you put things away easily, the clutter goes away. So it's when we have things sitting out because, maybe there's lots of stuff on the counter because it doesn't have a place in the pantry or in a cupboard. So that's what I'm trying to do, is streamline the different rooms in my home so that they feel calmer, there's less clutter and less chaos. So on the counter, the Lazy Susan has the oils that we use in cooking that I want, like at a moment's notice, I'll want to grab the olive oil, the sesame oil, the avocado oil, whatever it is that I need, it's right there and it's at our fingertips. So the Lazy Susan, folks, it's not a joke. I happen to love, love, love the Lazy Susan. Okay, we're gonna stay in the kitchen world. So I talked a minute ago about, let's see. I talked about finding product that creates something that normally would take time, that translates when using the product, it creates passive time, right? So you're getting the task or the activity done, but you're doing it in a way where it's passive and you don't actually have to be doing it yourself. You're finding something else to do it for you so you can take that time. So, whoops, I just opened up the wrong list. That is not what I want. Actually, I think this will work. Okay, so there are a few different things that I want to share with you because in the kitchen, when it comes to things that help you give yourselves more time. Nope, that's not it. Let's see. Here, it's in this list. Okay. So there's a couple things. So the first one that I'm a huge fan of is this large air fryer oven.
Introducing the new Wave Brio 14-quart Brio air fryer oven that air fries, crisps, roasts, and...
Look, the video's loading, folks. It's loading, don't go anywhere.
Indoors. Now enjoy all your favorite fried foods crispy and juicy without the guilt. The secret is the Brio's specially designed cooking chamber, which circulates superheated air all around the food. Now you can...
I'm sorry, but did you see the woman and how much she was enjoying that piece of fried chicken? I feel like you almost need to re-see that. The look on her face was just sheer happiness. Okay, sorry. I'll go back to the video.
Fry, roast, grill, bake, rotisserie, dehydrate, and more. Forgot to defrost the meat? No problem. You can even cook from frozen. The integrated digital temperature probe makes cooking easy. Just insert the probe, set the temperature, and touch and go. The Brio cooks until the desired temperature is reached, and then stops cooking automatically. Never guess, overcook or undercook again. Make perfect steak, chicken, pork, salmon, grilled cheese, and the best French fries ever. The Brio 14-quart also includes stainless steel rotisserie and kebab kits, so you can air fry rotisserie delicious whole chickens, mouth-watering sausage, zesty kebabs, plus a grill plate for year-round indoor grilling. The Brio will give whatever you cook that great outdoor char-grilled look and taste in any weather. This is your all-in-one compact countertop appliance. Now cook your favorite food faster and healthier than ever before with the all-new New Wave Brio 14-quart Brio air fryer oven.
Okay. So literally this thing does everything, right? And it's large. It's not a little air fryer. There are smaller air fryers if you're looking for an air fryer. There are definitely air fryers out there that are smaller and they're not gonna take up as much space. They might be a little bit easier to clean, but this thing is like the Mac Daddy of air fryers. Because it can do so many things. And so I just think I personally like the roasting skewer thing to make a rotisserie chicken. I mean, come on. To not have to buy rotisserie chicken from the market, because there's so many things you can do with rotisserie chicken. You can shred it and put it into so many different meals. So to have something where you can do that, you can just stick it in there and walk away and go do whatever you need to do, whether it's practicing self-care, being present with your kids, getting back to people via email or text or on social, whatever you have to do, you now can do that because you can walk away from the meal prep. And if you can walk away from it, the meal prep, you are golden. So the other item in the kitchen for passive, I'm calling it passive cooking, is the Instapot, right? The Instapot. Who doesn't have an Instapot? Who loves their Instapot? If you have an Instapot and you love it, tell me what you love to make in your Instapot. I'm so curious what your favorite meal is to make. Okay, so did you see that list that it replaces up to 7 kitchen appliances? Like, basically, here's the thing. If you have an Instapot and you have that air fryer oven, you don't need anything else. Forget it. You're not gonna do cooking in anything else because you literally can make any dish you would wanna make between one of those two places, between the air fryer and the Instapot, and you can set it, stick the food in, set it, and walk away. And then you have time. You're giving yourself that precious commodity of time to give back to yourself for self-care, to give to your children one-on-one time with them where you're focused, you're with them, you're present, you're engaged with them, or wherever your attention is needed most, whether it's giving it to yourself, your kids, work, your significant other, as a daughter, a friend, a son, whatever it is, you can do that because you will have more time in your life to do that. That is what these products do. Okay, I told you my favorite kitchen products. Now I want to share two So this next one is something that theoretically could have gone in the first segment when I was talking about things for self-care, but I don't really think of this as self-care, although maybe I should. But this is the Revlon One Step Hair Dryer and Volumizer Hot Air Brush. Let's play this video.
Looking for salon-worthy blowouts? Try the One Step Hair Dryer and Volumizer to dry and add body. The unique oval design is perfect for extra lift at the roots and smooth curled ends in up to half the time. One-step styling and gorgeous results. Style confidently.
Okay, so this is another Amazon bestseller, I think, or if not, we're gonna make it, yeah. Yes, it is, it's an Amazon bestseller. Here's the thing about this. I have a lot of hair, a lot. It's thick, it's coarse, it's long, and this is embarrassing to admit, but I used to go pre-pandemic, I got my hair blown out once a week because if I did it myself, it took me a full 2 hours to do it. Now, no one is going to the salon. I haven't gotten my, with the exception of one time when the numbers came down and salons were allowed to open for like maybe a few weeks, like in the summer, and I did treat myself to that, I have had to do it all myself. Now, it's fine, I'm totally fine doing it, but it takes time. And when I do it myself, it would take up to 2 hours, as I said, and it was such a process. Okay, I've introduced this tool into my self-care routine in the morning, and it takes me 20 to 25 minutes to do my hair, which I know sounds like a lot to a lot of you, but for me, that is such a massive time saver, and it looks totally fine. It's good, right? Like, I did this myself. I'm impressed with myself. The fact that I was able to do this, I think that that's kind of amazing. And that's because of the Revlon. It's because of this, this lovely, amazing tool. There's never been anything like it that has worked in my hair. That's the other thing that I wanna say. I have tried so many products. I've tried flat irons, I have tried other hair dryers. The only one I haven't tried, I will be fully honest, is the Dyson, okay? The Dyson is the only one I have not tried. But the Dyson is like $400. So this one, which I think works amazing, this is only $41.88 to be exact. I mean, that is a massive deal. So that, and it has saved me so much time, it's a joke. And then the other item that I want to share, is for vacuuming. And if you've watched the show, if you've been with me on The Art of Parenting in the past, you know how much I love these vacuuming products, these self-driven vacuuming products. The reason for that is because this is also an activity that would take time. And so when you have, even though this is a higher priced item, when you have something that you can just, click the button and plug it in and it goes on its own, then all of a sudden, what? Oh, and oh my God, no way. My producer just informed me it's on sale today. It's $190, you guys, this is a steal. For this product, this is totally a steal. I think I might have to get a new one. I'm not sure. I may have to upgrade. Anyways, check this out. Hold on, I have to go to the right. No, we don't want this video. No, where are the other videos? They're not coming up. This is not, that is not the video I want to share with you, but the other video links are not coming up. So we'll give it a second and we'll see. I'm refreshing. We'll see if they load. If not, then I won't share the video. But look, the idea here is that I call it a plug and go vacuum. And the nice thing about this vacuum is that it is compatible with smartphones, with smart homes. So it is, as you can see here, the editor's choice. It's an Amazon bestseller. I cannot believe this price. I cannot believe that it is on sale today. If you are in the market for a Wi-Fi connected vacuum, oh my God, this is such a good deal. This is really like an amazing deal. I'm in shock because normally when I pull up this page, it's a higher price point. And I don't actually like to endorse things that are higher price points unless it's something that I really, really, really love. I mean, I have to love it so much that if I'm gonna tell you to buy something that's really expensive, and so the fact that this is on sale and at this price today, I'm buy it. I'm telling you, it will save you so much time, and that time you can put towards yourself. So the savings will come back to you. The price for this will just come back to you in spades in your ability to give care to yourself and care to your kids. So that is the last item I wanted to share with you as far as creating calm and easing the stress and the chaos of craziness in the home. And I'm so excited that you have joined me today. We've been talking all about self-care for ourselves, for our children. I want to thank Liran again for coming on to the show and spending the first part of the show with me. I'm hoping that he'll come back. It was so fun having you on here, Liran. If you happen to be watching, I know he had a podcast he had to go do. But this was really fun hanging out with you. Thank you so much for being with me on The Art of Parenting on Sway TV on Amazon Live. Don't forget, if you've seen anything that you've liked today on the show, to shop the show and follow sway.com. There are so many great other hosts doing really fun and exciting topics, and I'm just one of many here, and we all have great products to share with you, but more importantly, the content that we want to share with you and talk to you about, whether it's parenting, health and beauty, fitness. There's so many great things on this network. So follow sway.com, and I will see you soon. Let's sway.
Make sure you guys follow Sway TV.
Follow Sway right here. Ooh, it's this way, sorry.
Corey says, thank you, Sway TV. Shakira says, thank you, Sway. Yes, guys, it is so much fun. We love Sway TV.
So grateful for you guys and for Sway TV.
We'll see you soon. Until then, let's sway.
Let's sway. Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway. Let's sway.